I'll start. Here's like a general education video and exercise after studying books and reading books and taking lots of advice. I'll just say the first primary resonating soundbite of advice that I have when I'm working out is, if you're not, or I'll just, with my hands with quotes, if you're not sweating, you're just like spinning your wheels. So I first started trying to learn how to exercise when I first played football in junior high school. I even have a picture of me on the team, and I had always assumed myself to be strong because I was always, generally speaking, the fastest person, like running wise. And at some point, I don't know how to explain it. It's sort of embarrassing. You know, a lot of my videos are on a sliding scale from cringe to like extremely embarrassing, and slightly cringed, or like extremely cringe to slightly embarrassing. I don't know. Anyways, so at that point I started developing like an ego rather than physically. Thankfully, I had grown. I don't know. It's nothing to have a sense of confidence about. You know what? When I was in high school, I was still kind of like a twerp. People used to call me twerp a lot, but I never took it personally until I actually started like lagging behind, and I was like really small compared to everyone else. That was something that happened in junior high, and so my personality changed. And I used to like, I was like, Dad, how tall are you? Because you seem like a full grown, or you just seem like a fully developed human being. And I didn't want to have like a stunted growth. He was like, I'm just average height, I'm 5'10". And I thought to myself, if I could just be 5'10", I'll be okay. Like, I'll feel all right. I'll have confidence. And thankfully, after I stopped worrying about it, a couple of years later, I grew into average height, about 5'10". And anyway, so here's a picture of me on the football team. I'm second from the side on the second to the bottom row. Let me see if I can enlarge the picture. First, here's two shorts that I created with the praying mantis there, and then the turtle and ladybugs, and they've got a whole lot of views. And when YouTube started, it started as like a video classified ads website. So here's the picture. This one right here. And that number 47 right there on the side, the left side of the video. See how close I can go. That's me right there. Anyways, so that was in junior high. And I remember we sort of had not a contest. It was a contest, but the coaches like wrote down how much we were able to bench press. And in my head, I thought I would be in one of the top whatever. Thought I would be one of the strongest, even though I had never done any working out or anything like that. I mean, after all, it was junior high. And lo and behold, 20 years later, I finally think that I understand. I think the most resonating quote before, the most helpful one, is going to be, if you're not sweating, you're just sort of trying to pretend like look like you're working out. And before that, it was, your muscles grow in the off time when you're resting. After you've, after a person, whatever, has sort of pushed their body to fatigue or failure or whatever, where they can't do anymore, they physically can't do any more lifting, it's in the time after that, the resting and recuperating, the next couple of days after the what feels like torn muscles sort of heal and grow back stronger. I'm here to say that I think that that's an absolute myth, because just after, you know, I would say a lot of the most important subjects take about 10 years to really have a grip on what the subject is about and to be able to speak with knowledge on something. So the video is sort of from a perspective of someone who's studied engineering and electronics. A lot of my electronics have been breaking down in the last couple of weeks. I haven't made many videos. What's funny is that it's called the EMP charge or something. It's called an electromagnetic pulse. It's like a weapon. It's like a science fiction weapon that knocks out electronics. Like in a movie with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, Arrowhead, the fighter that they're flying in is hit with an electromagnetic pulse, and it wipes out the electricity of all the stuff in the area and electronics and everything. So the word electronics, it's another like mental maze trying to navigate through just these pictures of like animated, like looking at like Disney cartoons and trying to understand something that's highly complex and some of the most advanced topics that people study at universities and have to dedicate their whole lives to just understanding and being able to teach about. The word electronics, the word electrolyte, is for a man who's an Italian. I call him an Italian American, even though he was never in America, as far as I know. His name is Alessandro Volta, and that's where we get the name for volt, like electricity. And so, here's how I can relate exercise into electronics. It seems highly complex, like there's entire books written about the subject, and it can actually be understood the same way like electronics seem to be highly complicated on the surface, but looking into the micro electronic part of it, it's really just an on or off switch. Like the symbol for the power on or power off button is just an I and an O for on or off, and so the on is like a tiny little charge or pulse, electromagnetic. It's like a heat signal or a cold signal. I don't know. It takes a lot of thinking about to understand whether or not batteries store heat or they store cold, and it functions in a very similar way to stars, and how stars sort of absorb all the dust from, they sort of pull in all the dust from space as a star moves through space. The planets, help with that, and the planets are built out of dust, and then that's sort of the fuel. That's just my opinion. That's on a very large macro scale. On a micro scale, a similar thing's going on when it's like, I'm trying to show here how much work has to be done and exerted just to build a millimeter of muscle, and willpower is a huge part of it. It's easier for me to sit here and talk for 30 minutes or an hour than do like 1 or 2 minutes of a chest press. And as the more experience, after a year of daily workouts, for lack of a better word, I have seen my willpower go from almost zero to getting stronger and stronger mentally. It's like a real mental strength rather than the sort of ego that started developing when I was in junior high, and my physical size was not how I had expected it to be. And so the topic is very touchy. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. As a body is still developing, it's possible to change bone structure and stuff like that. After a certain point, age 20, the body stops developing and growing, and it starts deteriorating, and it's really just maintenance at that point. And it's not only that our own bodies give up on us as beings. It's like the entire world stops paying attention to us and starts ignoring us at age 20. It doesn't get any better. It's only maintenance at that point. And so celebrities and stuff are best able to keep up the appearance that aging is a myth when that is definitely not the case for anyone past age 20. Humans are lucky, if that could be the word, that we develop so late into our adulthood starts so delayed compared to other animals, like even tigers and horses, some of like the lions and tigers, bears, whatever. They're fully developed at like 5 years old or something, if I'm not mistaken. Turtles are funny too. You know, just understanding how turtles can live to be 200 years old, and who knows when they stop growing. It's because they're not so fast to try to be saved or whatever. I don't know. With their genetically saved at least, right? So, a couple of books that I started studying when I started researching health. I started minoring in health after I had felt that I had fully understood. I was studying electrical engineering, and I majored in that subject, and then I sort of picked up on health as a minor. It's like a minor interest. I don't know what to say, just a minor subject of a study. And that took another 10 years to fully grasp. And what's funny about that is similar to working out. It's like I think I know everything there is to be known, and I'm still always learning. I never would have imagined I'd still be studying and learning. And, I've always, I don't know, for many years I've felt confident enough to make my own video journals or journals that would be able to be peer reviewed. The word university, it's like universe. There's so much knowledge out there, and it's a little tidbits that really resonate and stuff. What are some others? So the first two that I mentioned, the first one is if you're not sweating, if like you're working out a chest press and you don't feel any sweat, then you're just sort of going through the motions and it's not doing anything. The second one is a myth that everyone thinks that, it's like, well, I feel sore the next day. That just means I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to have a millimeter of growth. And that never pans out. It's never worked. That's what I used that as an excuse when I started trying to work on my chest press numbers, whatever, in junior high, age 13 or something. And it would have looked good, like as far as like in the Rocky movie when he does a training montage in the song "Eye of the Tiger" and he's running up and down the stairs and stuff. It would have looked good, but in reality, it's not doing anything. I've had a lot of gym memberships over the years. I've talked to people at gyms. I've read books. I've watched seminars on the stuff. So there's a book series. One's called Static Contraction, and here's the second book in the series called Max Contraction. And it's a large book. It has a lot of great info. Something in this book about leptin was when I first was able to trim a lot of my body fat percentage. As far as building muscle, it wasn't until in the last year that I've really, it's not even so much the feeling that I get of feeling confident in my own physical fitness. It's more of the feeling that I get of dealing with the corruption of my own body and how being static and just sitting around is just not, it's just real. It has a negative effect on my mental health and it's very bad. People go get on their soapbox on that subject. I can feel it. When I do 20 to 30 push-ups first thing in the morning, as any soldier would do daily, if I'm not mistaken, when they join boot camp and stuff in the military. Speaking of the military-industrial complex, I just watched a speech of Eisenhower, one of the first presidents to have a televised speech that really resonated throughout time in the late 1950s when the transition from the late 50s to the early 60s and Eisenhower to JFK. Thinking about his name is codename or nickname Ike. And he's known for talking about the military-industrial complex and how it was different in the late 50s to even the early 50s, to the 40s, to the 30s, to the 20s, going back to the 1800s when America had zero military presence in the world. And really looking into his name, Eisenhower, the most important words of the letter E to me are engineering and electrical engineering, electronics engineering and stuff. And that is, it's actually the Education Industrial Complex, EIC, can be rearranged for his nickname Ike. And I think EIC number is like how books are designated or something on a barcode or something. ISBN number. It's not that important. And yeah, here's a McGraw-Hill official thing. What I've been saying online is that here's the third book in the series. Or actually, no. Body by Science. And there was John Little, and he wrote the first two along with someone else. And here's Body by Science, and that's Doug McGuff. He's a surgeon, and he has a YouTube channel, and he shows that the simplest idea here, it's really funny. I'm over the humor part of it. The idea is everyone's working too hard, and they're sort of just going through the motions, and he's really trying to help. What's so funny is, I don't know, I mean, I can pull up videos of the 1950s and 1960s of people training in gyms, and it seems like something that never hit the culture until the 1980s with bodybuilder movie stars, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Van Damme. And what makes Bruce Willis so unique and so important is he's the average guy action star of the 80s. Anyways, he's sort of a humbled guy, and I don't know. That's why I can't really enjoy those other action movies as I can Bruce Willis movies. So one thing that almost none of these people have in common is they don't have what appears at least to be a full head of hair. And so that's what makes my situation unique. The plan was to talk in between doing workouts, for lack of a better term. I was going to say having sets. And okay, so that's a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger in the late 70s when he's bodybuilding. He says it's like having workouts is like having sets. He says something like that, and it's funny. So anyway, so the simplest idea of static contraction, max contraction, and Body by Science, a series of books, is that everyone's going through the motions. They're not actually building muscle. The idea is if you could just work out 2 minutes per week and then let your body recover in the meantime on the other 6 days, then you'll look like a bodybuilder in no time. And so I really believed it. And what it does is sort of jumpstarts someone. I just did a kicking motion. It sort of kickstarts someone into, it's sort of like getting thrown into somewhere to learn how to swim. So, I've always, from what I've read, it's like 10 reps. A repetition is just whatever. I don't know how simplified I need to make these terms. But let me just say one thing. The science going on here, when someone moves their muscle, what's like the simplest muscle of, the person blinking their eyes, or just me moving my arms in and out like this, or up and down. It's a contraction. Here is sort of squeezing. It's sort of like what the muscles are doing is they're like this, they're stretched, and then they sort of squeeze like this as my arm moves up. That's, if I can make an animation, that's what it looks like. And so with a press up, what I'm doing is squeezing right here, and then it's stretching, and then it's squeezing, and then it's stretching. And so the idea is, on a macro scale, the only time that the muscle is actually building and is being drawn from white blood cells or something. That's as technical as I get, is white blood cells. I don't want to talk about leptin and leptides and lectin and ATP and all this like complicated biochemistry. I just want to talk about white blood cells get recruited and they become muscle cells, or they could become fat cells. And instead, it's not in the downtime that it's happening. It's only in the 1 to 2 minutes that I'm doing the exercise. It's only happening in the 1 or 2 minutes. And so, I was just thinking about rotating the camera so that I'm looking at the camera as I do the thing. So anyways, Doug McGuff, I'll show his name. He has a YouTube channel showing how this works. And in just 1 or 2 minutes a week, a person can become a bodybuilder. And so after a year of doing, I don't know if that's visible. So it says maximize your muscle and size and strength in just 12 minutes a week. And so that red in the picture, that's the contraction part of what I was just talking about. And so the idea is, it's not enough to do a press up. It's not enough to just do, let me show the contraction again. It's not enough to do, so here's a stretch part, and then here's when it grips up like that. Okay, that's what's happening in these muscles right here in my arm. It's not enough to just work out one part of my arm. I also have to work out the reverse part of that. So then I'll do this, and the same thing's happening here. It's stretched and it's gripped, but that's the opposite side. That's the opposite side of my arm. So in a similar way, when I do a chest press, and then I feel real tense. I can feel the tension in my muscles as they're really being worked out, and there's been white blood cells drawn into them to start building muscle. That's only half of the workout. The other half is now I have to do the reverse of a chest press, and that's doing a back pull down or a lat pull down. So I'm doing chest press, lat pull down, chest press, lat pull down, and skip leg day, all the memes that everyone knows. So I'm getting started after about 20 minutes or something of talking. And so I have the video in the background over here. Just want to make sure it's not too loud. And I'm turning on loop. Where's loop at? I think it's that button. I hope it is. Is that too loud?
Here's my first reaction to NFL Blitz Elite for PlayStation.
Oh, okay. So now after I press this button, there's no way for me to get rid of that. Loop video on, captions unavailable. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. So here it goes. I'll just see what time. Wow, 23 minutes. Okay. So I'm gonna try to see how many sets I can go for. This is my first time, if I'm not mistaken, recording. There's been a couple of times I've tried to record it before, doing like one set. Okay. So here it goes. We do 40 reps. All that talking sort of took the wind out of me. So I think I'll have the mic so that I can be heard. I'm used to doing this when so I have the fan on. It's not going very fast. Oh well. You know what? I think I've said enough. I could probably record at a different point. So the standard here is 20 reps over here. And it's sort of a lat pull down sort of thing. And I go with this motion here. I'm out of the camera. Can I move the camera? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some other resonating quotes are like, if my arms are like shaking, that means that there's too much weight, and to lower the weight and maybe up the volume, and that holds true. Okay, so I've sort of warmed up my back, and then so now I'm going to work out my chest. The amount of weight is just 7. That's all it shows. I don't know. If I'm being completely honest, I think 72 pounds was what I bench pressed at age 13 in junior high. I think I was almost a whole foot shorter. I don't know. Anyways. A scene that comes to mind, I think, is from the movie The Stupids, with Tom Arnold, and the mind over matter. The idea is I don't even need weights at all. Like, screen. Like, I don't even need weights at all. Right? So, I don't even need, like, I could just pretend that I'm working out after enough muscle memory and practice with weights. So now that my back is warmed up, I'm going to work out my chest. And then after my chest is warmed up, then I'm going to work out my back. So the goal here is, again, 40 reps. I've just been talking too much. Oh. The weights are messed up. So I am indeed sweating.
Are they gonna punt it? So I have to take Allison all the way back to the end. Aces out, aces. One open press. I don't think there is a open press. Is there supposed to be another song on the playlist? Did it not get added? Without me cover?
Um, yeah, I think that completes my workout. 3 chest press sets and I think 2 pull down. Well,
The receiver got hammered before the ball even got there. One of the more brutal aspects of our game.
Dallas, Debbie. Okay.